Phillips was just 6 months old when he experienced his first allergic reaction to cow's milk. His mum Anna and his dad Adam lived in constant fear of his allergies. But in 2019, Jamie was offered the opportunity to take part in a milk trial. And today he can drink 120 millilitres of milk a day. And that's been completely transformative, not just to his own life, but to his whole family. I'd really like to know how serious Jamie's allergies were.
When he was 2 weeks old, he had terrible eczema. They told us he was allergic to dairy, and I did give him cow's milk formula, and he spent about 2 weeks being bright red. I didn't know what it was at the time. And then they put him on special formula. So he was completely dairy-free from a very young age. He also had some cake when he was about 2 years old and ended up in A&E having had anaphylaxis.
Really frightening.
Yeah.
So it was a serious milk allergy.
Yeah, very serious. And we knew that from a very young age, and we were always very careful with him. We didn't take any risks. We tried not to. When he went to parties, he always took his own food with him.
Do you remember knowing that you've got an allergy?
Yeah, and it was always like in my mind, like any time I was eating, it was always in my mind saying, Mum or Dad, does this have any milk in, or is it dairy? And it was just always stuck in my mind when I was eating food. So actually in my room I have my first chocolate wrapper, which was a crunchy, and I was 9 years old.
The milk trial, can you tell me about that and how it actually worked?
So first of all, they had to give him an allergic reaction to confirm he was eligible for the trial. So they give a tiny bit of milk on the lip and then build it up. It's sort of like a traffic light system, so they know when to stop. And he reacted to 0.9 mil of milk. So at that point, he got very itchy very quickly, head to toe in hives, and fell asleep for about 45 minutes. But they were quite reassuring to us, and I was obviously quite anxious about that. But they said that this is fine and he'll be okay, and they had him monitored with a probe on his finger. And then when he woke up, they said, right, so now go home and give him. They didn't do 0.9 mil because that was obviously his threshold, so they went back to about 0.6 and gave me teeny little syringes with the milk ready in. We then put it in the freezer, so it was frozen and we had to defrost it. And then I'd had to give him the milk every single day for about 10 days. And then depending on how he did on that, we would then go back to the hospital after 10 days and go up a tiny little bit more, and so on and so forth for about a year. So we were in hospital every 10 days to 2 weeks. There were some blips along the way where he just couldn't quite cope with it. We were moving a little bit too quickly for him, so we had to take a few steps back. There were some days when he did react quite badly and he would have to miss school because, his body couldn't quite tolerate it for whatever reason that day. But we were very lucky. There was a 24-hour helpline to his doctor, and he was on the phone whenever we needed it to reassure us.
That's good to know.
So at the end of the year, the doctors say, obviously we get to a certain level. I think he was drinking about 100 mil or maybe 110 mil by the end. And they said, we're going to just see how far he can go. So it's called the exit challenge, where we went to hospital for the day and he just tried to drink as much milk as he could, basically. And it got to 130 mil when he started to get hives. So they said, right, that's his level. So they took it back to make it a safe level for us. And now he drinks 120 mil every day. We do have days off because, sometimes he will have a late night or something, but we have it every evening because you need to find the time when he's not going to be running around. And sometimes we do have, a couple of days off, which we shouldn't, but we try. And then if he's not been well, we'll drop it down again to 60 and build it back up because, I don't want to risk it, because there have been occasions where he'll react. And This trial has been unbelievable to change our lives, but it hasn't cured him. He is definitely still allergic to dairy. He can have a certain level, but beyond that level he will react. But on the whole, it's definitely been a most unbelievable experience for us as a whole family.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie and Anna, for sharing how positive the milk trial was for yourselves, for you, and particularly Jamie, but for your lives as a family. We want other children and young people to have the same opportunities that Jamie's had, to be able to live a life without fear of the food that they eat. That's why we've launched our first major research trial into food immunotherapy. It's part of the mission of our charity, and that's to make allergy history. We're partnering with 5 universities across the country at a cost of £2.2 million, and we're privileged to have received funding from some of the country's biggest grocers and food companies. We are determined that Natasha's death should not be in vain, and that other families get the opportunities that Jamie's had, and that's to live without the constant daily fear of food allergies.